Greetings, my fellow adventurers. I am Potato on a quest, and today I am planning on venturing through the deep cave known as the Tunnel with No End. The native tribes of this jungle believe it to be a cave that many have entered, only to never return. Some say that a few explorers have come back out of the entrance before, but only after much time traveling back, fearing that their many days of moving forward in the tunnel would really not end otherwise. They say it's crawling with bugs, rats, snakes, and even alligators. Luckily, I have previous experience with animals like these. In fact, I could tell you of many tales of how in my teenage adventures, our house actually became infested with brownie bats. But before I get into that, if you like this content, make sure to attack that subscribe button to get the latest updates on my YouTube adventure. Play that theme song music.
Deep in the mysterious Bustani jungle, far away from the world of men, lives a potato on his never-ending quest to do a thing.
This tale actually begins in my middle school adventures, but ends just after the native tribe officially accepted me as a brother and an ally by initiating me in the ceremony of high school graduation. I say this because it's more of a tale of tales. I used to live with my family in a village just outside the jungle I now call my home. A village in the Great Plains of Smallholm Town. And in Smallholm Town, we had a rather large hut house for our somewhat large family. One day in the summer, I believe it was, we were getting ready for bed when we noticed something, no joke, in the corner of the ceiling of our house. I remember it well. It was the second floor, the floor where all our bedrooms are. And at the end of the hall, as we begin to approach the something, we then quickly found out it was a great, medium-sized brownie bat. And we knew this because it flipping came right at us. Its great batty wings helped make it look so frightening as the creature passed under the ceiling light above. Luckily, I have long been well trained in the margarine arts of fighting, and as it came right towards me, I quickly performed the laying on the floor screaming move. It made its way back to the end of the hall where we found it, and came back at us again. And this time, with much skill, we all performed the running away screaming move. Now, I know it may not sound like that frightening of a situation, and yes, if it was a velvet vampire bat, it may have been a lot scarier. But we have never had anything like this happen to us before. Brownie bats are common where I come from, but this one was in our home, in our living space, and it flippin' flew right at us. So anyway, we all sorta watched from a distance as it made its way back to where it was on the ceiling. And we came up with a plan to deal with this thing. Now, I don't remember all the details, but we managed to get it into the attic of the house, since after all, the door leading up to those stairs was sorta the opposite end of the hallway. Knowing that it was up there, we then decided that in the morning we would find a way to release it, since it would be asleep during the daytime. My little sister was always an animal lover, so resorting to killing an animal that got in the house would always be something she was strongly against, even with mice. Besides, I found out recently from my mom that there's apparently a law in that area against killing bats. But anyway, we were able to get the bat out of the house by carefully covering it with a towel and taking it outside. The crisis was over, and everything was happily ever after. That is until... That sounded like Mother.
There's a bat in the bathroom!
Yes, indeed, my fellow adventurers, we had yet another bat in the house. This time in the bathroom, no joke, clinging to the mop that had been in there at the time. I remember that this time we actually did call an animal control guy. We had more than one bat incident after all, and we wanted to find out how they were getting in. My dad and the animal guy walked around the house to see if maybe there was some way the bats could have gotten in, such as a full-on hole, or a window that was cracked open or something. And if I recall correctly, they guessed that the bats may have been squeezing through an exhaust vent on the back of our house, but the animal guy still said he wasn't positive about it. And I know that at the time I assumed that was probably the end of it. But as the days and even years had gone by, bats continued to invade our home, usually in the spring or summertime. As soon as we found that another bat had gotten in, we freaked out a little bit, waited until we felt like we could approach it with a towel or something to cover it, and then carefully take it outside without harming it. Because my sister would not like it if we harmed it. There was one in my sister's bedroom that we captured with a laundry basket that had dirty clothes in it. There was one in our parents' room, and my mom thinks it peed on her since she says that night she felt something drip on her face. I also remember one time my dad had one in a smaller towel and wanted to get out of the house quick. But everyone else was behind him, and he was walking kind of fast. I was trying to get ahead of him to open the door, but he was in such a rush. We all zoomed down the stairs. I was right on his tail as he was yelling, "Open the door for me! Open the door!" We reached the end of the stairs. Father screamed, "Open the door! Open the door! Open the front door!" Just like that. But in the nick of time, I'd gotten in front of him. I opened the door, and Father had gotten the bat outside. And we were all laughing at him for basically overreacting and being so determined to get out without having to stop for a little bit. Now, for me, one of the most memorable brownie bat incidents happened after the native sacred ceremony of high school graduation. My brother was just starting the 4-year preparation for the same initiation, which just so happens to be the teenage years. And like most teenagers, he had some crazy ideas from time to time. One of his crazy ideas was that he was going to make our attic his bedroom. No joke. I think he liked the idea of having lots of space, and he actually did this for a while too. We took his bed up there, and he had his video games and TV and everything. He even had an air mattress for when his friends wanted to hang out and spend the night. Even though for a teenager that means playing video games until 5 in the morning rather than actually sleeping. He actually made the attic his bedroom. So there was this one night that a couple of my brother's friends were planning on sleeping over in the attic. I mean my brother's room. So I had gotten a marketplace job in a quest for a paycheck at this time. And so that same night after I had come home from this, I heard some serious commotion going on up there. I literally heard them all yelling. What the flip? I came up the stairs to the my brother's room and asked what the heck was going on. I wasn't even all the way up the stairs yet, but the next immediate thing I see happen is the air mattress motioning up like a geyser, whilst my brother yells something I don't even know. Meanwhile, a bat comes flying at me and my brother's friend is throwing things at it. What a wonderful display of bravery against a most critically dangerous situation. I quickly exit the scene and pray that those kids don't do anything stupid. It turns out that my brother and his other friend ducked underneath the air mattress when they discovered the bat up there in the attic, and they freaked out at the time that I went up there, and that's what caused the mattress to become a parade float. For years I wondered why this kept happening. Well, according to the Bustani Jungle Guide, there is said to be an ancient Aztec belief that the reoccurring appearance of bats is only one of many possible consequences of the old house curse. Unfortunately, archaeologists have yet to discover any evidence of what causes the curse. Is it simply where the house was built? Jumping on the bed? Drawing on the walls and getting your mother mad? It could be any, if not all of those things, for all we know. We then had a special native witch doctor known as the Special Animal Control come over to try and get rid of the curse. He could sense a strong presence in the attic. We had a relatively new opening into the wall to get into the insulation up there if there ever needed to be a reason to get into that insulation. It turns out that the whole time the bats were living in the walls of our attic. What? And so the house witch doctor used his powers of pest control, without killing them, of course, because, you know, the law and everything. And Melakaliki Maka, the curse was lifted. Or at least the bat portion of the curse, for all we know, at least. According to my mother, the guy found and got rid of more than 50 bats. More than 50! So as it turns out, the bats that we had to deal with from time to time, for several years, weren't getting into our house after all, but instead, were already living with us. And we didn't even know it. And thus ended the tale I like to call The Adventure in the Winged Pest Control. Well, folks, I gotta get going. Hopefully spelunking this cave will not make me late for my visit to the Zulukini tribe's ultimate disc golf tournament. Until we meet again, my friends, have yourself a nice adventure.